Oscars and unboxings times two, Star Trek style. Today on episode 299, of Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, coming at you right here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 for the big picture, clarity, and sanity in all things Star Trek. Seems like we're leaning back into that sanity business again a little bit, but we'll get to that. Hey, it is so wonderful to see you back here. Picard is rolling right along. They mentioned something there too. I'll try not to use the F word when I do. Oh my God, one F bomb a year and the world melts down. I don't understand it, especially when there's such an interesting story behind it that's been shared, I think, on Collider, a writer, and some thought provoking thoughts from Terry Matalas himself. But I will probably save all that for a second opinion, aside from what everybody wants to talk about today. What's top of mind here, yes, what the title says, those Oscars from Sunday night. And also I have not one, but two unboxings this week. So yay. What's got the world melted down is, of course, the Oscars. And of course, the headline, not just for Trek World, but I think for a lot of the mainstream world, is Michelle Yeoh. First Asian American to win a Best Actress category. Kind of amazing. It is history. It's history. And so many people, no matter what you thought of Discovery or what you might think of a Section 31 show, she's had such an incredible career, played two different roles on Discovery. You might even say three by the time Empress Taryn Georgiou wound up going through the meat grinder. Here she is. Boom. There we go. Pretty awesome. It's something to see. It's something to see. It's great to see some people like Crouching Dragon, Hidden Tiger. I mean, everything up and down the line. Of course, Crazy Rich Asians. Did I say that right? It was awesome, and that stole a lot of the attention or spotlight rightly. So it sparked a whole different sidebar conversation in Trek World about whether or not now, because of this promise, before this is the spotlight, because of the salary command she can do, is that going to completely sabotage poor little Section 31, a show that a lot of people still have their doubts about, which has been through all kinds of development on the track. And as Dave Blass shared, or Tim Peel shared, was on track to go for a month and a half in prep before it was put aside, partly due to her schedule and partly due to having the Ensign Mount love affair explosion for all things that became Strange New World blow up in everyone's face in a good way finally. And basically, Strange New Worlds bump Section 31 off the development ladder, the development rollout. All to the good, because Section 31 didn't go away. It's been talked about. If they let Alex Kurtzman blab about it on a live stage somewhere, then it's the truth, as well as Starfleet Academy. And we have hints and good nods that that's what's going on. In the middle of all this, Discovery being throttled at 5 seasons and the streaming industry at large, and I did a special live comment on this if you didn't see it. I've talked about it here week to week, but I did a special on our YouTube channel just about this and all the repercussions, not just for Discovery, but for the whole Trek streaming franchise right now. And you've got two shows on the delivery stand here. They're in the bullpen waiting to come up. What might or might not happen with a Captain Shaw and a Seven show, or a Raffi and a Worf, or whatever might happen. Is it going to be third? Is it going to bump again? Is Section 31 going to be put to the side? And a lot of people have their doubts about that. Ooh, a bleak, dark show. But I still say a Section 31 show could wind up being it could be a Man from Uncle Wild Wild West kind of I know. But it could be that tone. And I don't mean the crappy for one of them. Movie iterations 20 years later. I mean, the original spirit could be, it's a special ops, but maybe more special ops than black ops. Anyway, whatever it is, and it's obviously been teed up at least through a couple of generations. The crew that was working on it 2 years ago and the crew that are working on it now, supposedly in development. People can write scripts without a show being greenlit. All you're out is the effort you put into it and maybe a little development money. But all of that said, thinking that her winning of the Oscar is going to blow all those plans up, no matter what's happening in the big picture. Or maybe it throttles it down, and maybe her asking price is going to be too much for a throttled back budget in a modern streaming world. It's all out there. It's all there. I think as big a factor as salary is going to be her schedule. I've had through some grapevine that she's got a hole later this year in her schedule, and maybe not for the next 3 or 4 years. She's got projects back to back. probably mostly features, I would think. So yay for her. We're all celebrating for her. But would she launch a Section 31 show and then back out of it or make occasional? Would she Guinan a Section 31 show after she helped launch it and was in the pilot, or maybe the first 10, maybe the first 5, and then find a way to hand off to somebody else, new characters? The Worf and Raffi show? I don't know. I'm totally speculating, gang. No inside info. I'm just trying to read the tea leaves and the popular expression. So it's amazing how her success there has added to an already complicated picture here going on with Section 31. Lots of fans are saying, well, that's that. They'll never get her now. She's way too expensive. She wants to do it. And unlike Whoopi and some of our other Oscar winners, she's got her Oscar ahead of her Star Trek inclination. So we'll see. The other thing about that night was the memorial reel. And it was cool to see who all was honored. If you caught them all, of course, obviously our queen, Nichelle Nichols, was honored. Louise Fletcher passed. Kirstie Alley, of course, passed. But I said this online. I was very tickled to see it. I was tickled to see that Greg Jean, fabulous model maker, inspiration to so many folks who work in TNG over the years, but the original series. Greg wrote the article that analyzed the NCC numbers in the Starbase office and tried to post-op, do retcon canonized numbers for the other Constitution class and the other ship. Yeah, the story of Mary Sue Starship, I think is what it was, the mystery. But way beyond that, I know Greg built the Enterprise C model that was using. He was like a lot of the industry then who would do so much more for Star Trek beyond what they would have charged anywhere else because of the love of the friend. They were fans, dadgum them. And no, it wasn't as lucrative as it could have been. But then again, they're linked forever with something like the Enterprise C, like all the models, the analog, not CGI models that were done for Trials and Tribulations, and so many more, and so many sci-fi projects over the years, and not sci-fi. I remember when he built the airplane model from Air Force One that was used for filming, which was years before CGI, still in the 90s, but still before CGI was practical and cost effective in a lot of excuses, especially when it's something not a vortex and not a ghost or a plasma beam. If it was something as hardware-y as a plane, just build the damn model. So it was very cool to see Greg honored on the memory reel, because I also go back to the year 1999 when DeForest Kelley was left out of the memorial reel. So all the folks who are aggrieved every year at the folks who left out, and my God, this year there was a list, I know just how they feel. And, Dee was not just Star Trek. Dee had all those years of Westerns, including Gunfight at the OK Corral. So, and a pioneer. I thought that was Jimmy. Jimmy was in. I'm going to assume Gene was. I have no memory of Gene being or not being, because I wasn't paying attention to such things at the time. And I know the memory reel goes back, the in memoriam reel goes back that farther, way, way farther back. But I know how it feels. But it was very cool. I don't know what it was about this year in general. Forget Star Trek. I wound up seeing more Oscar movies this year than I have in years. I felt a little more invested. And I saw this morning where the ratings were up like 18%. Some big, huge jump from 16 million to 18 million or something. I'm totally off the top of my head there. But there was a very healthy jump for just the TV ratings for the Oscars this year. So chalk that up to whatever. People will be pundicating on that all over. But I have I thought of this on Sunday as we actually sat down to watch the Oscars for the first time in ages as well, after I'd crammed in 2 or 3 Oscar movies just in the last few days, including Women Talking. But it gave me a totally different Oscar memory, because growing up back home, the Oscars were, you kind of watched them. And even though we seem to be more connected in with our movies, people bemoan the fact that, just like with the Emmys, the winners and the shows and the movies are more disconnected from the mainstream audience these days. That may have been a trend that averted this year, but over the years, and explains the lower TV ratings for all the award shows. But I remember coming to LA and Hollywood in the 90s, and just by our circumstances, having several years worth of wonderful Oscar memories. No, not because we went to Oscar parties and knew all the in people. I've never been to an Oscar. Well, a home style Oscar party, but not a bigwig Oscar party, not a licensed Oscar. I'm kidding. But no, for several years, Majel, after Gene died, before Gene died, but we weren't here then. But after Gene died, one of the 3 parties or so she would throw a year, big wingdings at the house in Bel Air on Bellagio, was an Oscar party where the cool thing was not only did everyone come and watch the awards together, but they would organize a pool to the point where she would put out a little tri-panel. They would rig up all the major award categories, like the top 12 or so. This is the one from 1998. And you would, this is for Janet and me. And you would, fill it, get there. You put $20 in the pot when you arrived. And then you would fill out your ballot. And then at the end of the night, they were in there madly figuring who was the first, second, and third place. And they divvied up the pot that way. And sure, it was cool to win, but it was just very cool to me. This was 25 years ago. The actual date of the party on here was March 23rd. So we are 9 days away from the actual anniversary. But I really thought of this year, and I saved 2 or 3 of these. This just happens to be the one from 98, which, voila, is 25 years ago. And, the movies that year, it was the Titanic year, but also the Full Monty, Good Will Hunting, LA Confidential, along with Titanic. Good as It Gets, Air Force One, I just mentioned. Oh, my dear, that was ironic. Those are the biggies. Yeah, Best Picture. And I guess this year may have been, we won we got 3rd place one year, got our $20 back or something. It was kind of amazing. Maybe we got $40 or $60, but I think we got 13 out of 16, if I can believe that, which is kind of amazing. Anyway, I have a lot of fond memory. That was the one we went to every year. Sometimes she would have a Christmas party and we'd be out of town traveling back home. One year she had somebody will know in the chat. One year she had a boxing party. There was a huge, not that they were boxing fans, but there was one that transcended the boxing fandom and became a big popular thing. And it was a knockout in 20 seconds. And so everybody lost money and had disappointment, except I guess the party companies, the caterers that had parties. You were stuck there eating the food. It was paid for no matter how long the party went. And sometimes they had a Halloween party. But the mainstay every year, and probably Christmas was too, we just never got to go. The mainstay every year was Majel's Oscar party. And before 91, I'm sure it was Majel and Gene's Oscar party for several years. So a fond memory there. I do remember, to get back to Trek, it was way beyond just Trek people. I remember Robert Stack always came to, older Robert Stack always came to Majel's parties. That's one I can think of. But I remember especially, a lot of Trek people didn't attend as the years went by and after Gene died. But I remember especially Mike and Denise came the year Babe was a nominee. And Denise brought her Babe. And anyway, it was a big cheering section for Babe every time. And it was, I just have a fond memory for that. So that's funny. But yeah, did anybody else, was this a different kind of Oscars year for anybody else? I'm just curious if anybody else had a more reconnection, a little bit more interest for whatever reason. No special reason. I mean, I was cheering for Michelle, but that's not what it was. It was across the board and things that had nothing to do with Trek. I just noticed as the memorial reel went by, it seemed to have Trek touches all over it this year. And as I tweeted about, my heart just leaped when, a non-actor from Trek gets in. The same way Charlie Washburn was in 10 years ago. The first Black assistant director in Hollywood who had his DGA trainee on the original series and then was a second AD on the last season, and then came back and was the first AD on some of the very early TNG episodes right out of the gate. And I helped round up some photos for him for that. So I was especially close to that. But it's rare that we get behind the scenes people, A, penetrating the memorial reel to begin with, and then B, that they're Trek folk. And it was just, I just had the biggest smile. I didn't expect that, didn't know it was going to happen. And I'm just so glad to see him get the recognition in memory. I think he has a couple of Oscar nominations as part of some of the movies over the years. Yeah, very cool. So what did you think? What did you think of the Oscars? Were you especially keeping closer tabs because of Michelle. I hope everybody was in a place with weather still being odd and situations and all that you were able to watch in some kind of comfort and not have other bigger issues going on where you were too. Well, that was a special little Oscar comment. I thought we could round up some thoughts there. But also, it's just happened that, funny enough, we've got a double unboxing this week. A double unboxing. Look at this. I'm just going to jump into it. One of them I'm going to say is a little overdue. One of them with the eddies and currents, there we go, of Trek and merchandise and the world over here. Let's see. I know, you'd think it was going to be another stuffed Murph or something, but one that was overlooked at the time, and that's why I'm really pleased to announce this. Actually, this was, you could have got this in early January 3rd, but I wanted to make sure and point out that as we unbox, boom, was indeed the DVD Blu-ray for Prodigy's Season 1. And of course, you've got all the special features, 75 minutes here of exclusive bonus material. It's half hours, but it's a 10 episode first season. You got 75 minutes there, hour and 15 minutes of bonus material. Oh, and there's character cards in it as well. So if you've got a young one, whether or not her name is Alice or not, a lot of folks are sharing Prodigy with the kids. You've got cards. Of course, my advice to you is get them in plastic and don't touch them. Unless you have a real household where, of course, the kid is going to get the cards and play with them. But, you might shepherd them to take a little care. If you're raising them to be a good Trek fan, maybe you're going to raise them to, buy two and take only one out of the box. Do what you can with your action figures. I'm not saying buy two of these unless you're a crazy fan of Prodigy and you want to set it back. But no, you get all the good stuff. All the features are here. Of course, it's 3D animation, which apparently is a little more expensive than the 2D animation of Lower Decks. This is Season 1. It's episodes 1 through 10. But it's been out since January 3rd. I didn't get a chance to grab some. I thought the whole promotion for this was under-heralded. So I'm glad to come back in. They were happy to have somebody still talking about it. Prodigy is amazing. We are so inundated with, I think, how all the current series are maturing and being surprising in their own way. From Lower Decks to Strange New Worlds to Prodigy. And, that show now, Picard. Yeah, that one too. But speaking of all those shows, here is another one that turned up that maybe you've heard of also. Maybe you've heard of what's going on in the world right now. As I scissor it open, we depaper, and look, it is something a lot of people are excited for, the Season 1 of Strange New Worlds. Again, it's the full season, certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes for all you. This is being released in a week. So if you're looking online for it, it'll be another few days before it delivers. It's out March 21st, next week. And of course, you've got featurettes, the gag reel, which we used to call the bloopers. Everything is here. Deleted scenes. There's some audio commentary. What's funny is in LA now, for those of you on the West Coast, our dear friend, Dr. Aaron McDonald, science advisor for all the Treks now, as if you couldn't tell, the projected science and exploratory what ifs are getting better and better and better, and more cogent and more consistent, even when it's projected future science or fantasy science. And a shout out also to Dr. Mohammed Noor there. But Dr. Aaron is going to be leading a trivia night at the infamous Scum and Villainy Bar, which is ostensibly Star Wars, yes, but they have a front end that's Star Trek now. And Bonnie Gordon was just was doing her cabaret, and she was there the Thursday night before the cruise left. A lot of you around the country have probably heard of Scum and Villainy. If you come to LA, go by. I'm not getting anything for telling you to do that, but it's one of the stops, especially now that they keep closing our golden era bars. Lucy's is gone now, right across from Paramount, where we could at least go in all the years that Nicodell's has been gone. And they took with them their autographed Gene Roddenberry photo among all the other photos. But I'm I digress. Scum and Villainy, a week from this Friday night. Doors open at 6:30. At 7, go to StarTrek.com. I think they've got a check-in procedure there. But trivia with prizes. And I bet I know what some of the prizes are going to be locally. So, yay, folks, if you're in the LA area or you can make it there a week from Friday, there you go. But wherever you are, Strange New Worlds Season 1 is out. Speaking of shows that surprise folks, I think the expectation level for Strange New was surpassed, even as people were excited to see Anson take the chair. See Ethan Peck continue with Spock, and the wariness about all these characters, and even now some people, the way they're weaving the new with the old, but you can't deny the spirit of the thing. Anson's a winning lead. I think the world was overwhelmingly in favor, not as always signing away the right to do a critique here and there. But my God, any series that brings back Cybok, brings him back or just finally gives him his due, well, we'll see in season 2. But yeah, two, count them, 2. This one you may have missed in January. Yay, Prodigy. The first 10 episodes and bonus features and animation bonus features. And then Strange New Worlds that I know a lot of folks have been looking forward to for physical media. Well, I think that's going to do it. I resist, corralling a lot of topics in disparate, but I think the Oscars deserve to mention. I want to do the unboxings and share all that news and info with you too. And we'll see what everybody's got to say. Meanwhile, if you are watching us later on YouTube, thanks for doing that. And you know what? You could join us live maybe someday at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern, and even normally 9 UK time, 10 Central Europe. Join us if you can. Especially you guys in Europe could be live with us. Whatever you are, wherever you are around the globe, though, thanks for joining us, and take a gander at that. Take a gander at the rest of the at the channel here, okay? Because one thing I'm always grateful for is our Patreon and our Patreoners and our TTLers by any other name. So a big shout out to all of them who help do this and bring this and maybe open up the scope here a little bit as we move along. I've got some special news to tell you too. Hang on just for a moment. Because first of all, thanking these guys and gals and peeps, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Jason Porteous, Galinda Bruton, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Ryan, Mona Mias, and Andrew Jazimski, and our live wires, Halbert Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoensi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, and Casey Shafsky. Big shout out to everybody once again. The links are open, and everybody who was a live wire at the $10 level, $5 level, thank you all. I kept them simple just for this reason. But actually, the access to all the early Portal 47 interviews with backstage folks is up and live, and we're actually going to be able to fulfill, but I just made a big catch up because it's been so long. So patreon.com/Trekland Live is the place to get all of that. Elsewhere around Trekland and the interwebs, yes, Trek Files is still on hiatus. So excited with what's going on in Trekland. We've got a big season premiere next week. Our 10th season is going to premiere with none other than Mr. Jonathan Frakes as our guest. And we're looking at, you won't believe this, the audition sides for Riker from 1987. It's going to be a special one. It's a special one, gang. We're also going to look at his directorial assignment, starting with The Offspring and leading all the way up to, of course, Picard. You don't want to miss it. It'll be next Tuesday. Right now, you can still check out a lot of, the whole 9 years back catalog, but we had a lot of Picard folks, Terry Batalis and Dave Blass, both talking on the last 5 episodes. If you haven't got over there, you want to. Otherwise, around the way, you want to catch us on our socials. Obviously, Larry Nemecek at Twitter and Mastodon, Larry Nemecek's Trekland, right where you are right now on Facebook and YouTube. Please like and subscribe us on YouTube. It's the same thing on Instagram. You want to get there too. We have a lot of fun. Portal47.net. I picked up 2 new members in the last month. Just because of the goodness that Star Trek oozing out of every pore that you can find in Trekland. The big fun thing though is next week as you can guess, with $2.99. Next week is our 300th show, and I've got a guest. Our guest next week to talk, as befitting the longevity that 300 episodes suggests, none other than the great Doug Drexler is going to be with us for, who knows, 30 minutes, an hour? I don't know. But you want to make sure and get in there. And of course, with the format of TTL here, we'll have the chat wide open. We'll have some back and forth going on. When I can corral Doug's enthusiasm for whatever we were last talking about, we'll be bouncing off as well as I can. We'll be bouncing off the chat too. So you want to spread the word. You want to be here. And since I've got a guest, we may pay attention to the clock next time. Although we're still on our gap between summer times here, we're already on it. Daytime daylight savings here in the States. Europe is not yet. So yes, for all of our European fans, we're an hour early. Still one more week, I think. So you want to make sure and make that. It's 8 UK time, GMT, and 9 Central Europe instead of an hour later as it is the rest of the year. So much excitement going on. We're pumping it up here. I'm pumping it up. WonderCon is in a week. I'll have that out there. I've got a panel Sunday night if you're actually in Anaheim for WonderCon. Saturday evening at 5, I've got a panel on locations and tips and tricks for you if you're not taking a tour with us. So that's going to be fun. Just so much stuff happening, getting already ready for Vegas and San Diego Comic-Con and SoonerCon in June. And I'm going to be back at SciFiCon in Lake Charles at the end of the month in a couple of weeks. That's going to be amazing. I haven't been there in 6 weeks either. 6 years. I think it's way pre-pandemic. So, and of course, this little thing called Picard is rolling along singing a song. And we're trying to make it every Saturday being a Second Opinion Saturday from Dr. Trek. So if you haven't watched the Second Opinion so far, they're only 10, 12 minutes. So they're about like a Trek Files. They're about that long. So they're bite-sized, but hopefully, once again, it's not what everybody else is saying. Hopefully I'm bringing the Trekland point of view here, something you may not have thought of. Some dots that we're connecting. Did you ever notice in the logo? Scott was so clever. You thought those were planets, right? No, we're connecting dots, just like we connect planets. And that's what we do on Second Opinion. Love to have you join us there. And if I ever get around to it, I've got some Cadet Alice's to post as well. All that to say, it's an exciting time to be a Trek fan. I'm excited here in Trek World and Trekland, and glad you're with us. Glad you're here with us too. But if you are leaving us right now on YouTube, just a couple of cautionary words, please. Just today, a former Trek person who's been a Portal 47 guest was telling the world he just got COVID after 3 years. I know we're coming up on the 3-year anniversary of the lockdowns in the States anyway, which is amazing. You know, just be smart out there. Just do all the things, okay? But no matter what decade it is, I'm telling you, please stay woke. Please pay attention to the source of the material you're getting. Is it trusted, something you've never heard before, or is it is the bot and troll army about to take you under? Just check your sources, would you? Yeah. Most of all, Trek well, everybody.